Hello, my name is Andy, and I'm a minister for Trinity of Christ Ministries, and we're doing a Bible study today. Genesis 47. It is the ending parts of Joseph's journey into Egypt.
The sunshine was brighter. I felt God's love.
Now Joseph was sent into Egypt by his brothers. They sold him into Egypt as a slave, and through happenstance, Joseph rose up inside of Egypt and became the second-hand man to the Pharaoh. And so when a famine hit the land, his brothers come to him looking for help to get food, and they don't recognize him, but he recognizes them. And so he invites them into Egypt. And that's about where our story continues. So let us begin reading. Let me put it up on the screen for you so that you can see it. Genesis 47. So Joseph took 5 of his brothers and went to the king, and he told him, "My father and my brothers have come from Canaan with their flocks, their herds, and all that they own, and they're now in the region of Goshen." He then presented his brothers to the king, and the king asked them, "What are your occupation?" "We are shepherds, sir, just as our ancestors were." They answered, "We have come to live in this country because in the land of Canaan the famine is so severe that there is no pasture for our flocks. Please give us permission to live in the region of Goshen." The king said to Joseph, "Now that your father and your brothers have arrived, the land of Egypt is theirs. Let them settle in the region of Goshen, the best part of the land. And if there are any capable men among them, put them in charge of their own livestock." And Joseph brought his father Jacob and presented him to the king. And Jacob gave the king his blessing. And the king asked him, "How old are you?" And Jacob answered, "My life of wandering has lasted 130 years. Those years have been few and difficult, unlike the long years of my ancestors in their wanderings." Jacob gave the king a farewell blessing and left. And Joseph settled his father and his brothers in Egypt, giving them property in the best of the land near the city of Ramesses, as the king had commanded. And Joseph provided food for his father, his brothers, and all the rest of his father's family, including the very youngest. So despite the fact that he had been mistreated by his brothers and sold into slavery into Egypt, he pays them back with good and takes care of them and feeds them and settles them down into Egypt. The famine. The famine was so severe that there was no food anywhere, and the people of Egypt and Canaan became weak with hunger. As they bought grain, Joseph collected all the monies and took it to the palace. And when all the money in Egypt and Canaan was spent, the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food, don't let us die. Do something, our money is all gone." Joseph answered, "Bring your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for it, if your money is all gone." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, And he gave them food in exchange for their horses, their sheep, their goats, their cattle, and donkeys. That year he supplied them with food in exchange for all their livestock. The following year came, and they came to him and said, "We will not hide the fact from you, sir, that our money is all gone and our livestock belongs to you. There is nothing left for us to give you except our bodies and our lands. Don't let us die. Do something. Don't let our fields be deserted. Buy us and our land in exchange for our food, and we will be the king's slaves, and he will own our land. Give us grain to keep us alive and seed so that we may plant our fields." Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for the king. Every Egyptian was forced to sell his land because the famine was so severe, and all the land became the king's property. Joseph made slaves of the people from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land that belonged to the priests. They did not have to sell their lands because the king gave them an allowance to live on. Joseph said to the people, "You see, I have now bought you and your lands for the king. Here is seed for you to sow in your fields. And at the time of harvest, you must give 1/5 to the king. You can use the rest for seed and for food for yourselves and your families." They answered, "You have saved our lives. You have been good to us, sir, and we will be the king's slaves." So Joseph made it a law for the land of Egypt that 1/5 of the harvest should belong to the king. This law still remains in force today. Only the lands of the priests did not become the king's property. Jacob's last resort. The Israelites lived in Egypt in the region of Goshen, where they became rich and had many children. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, until he was 147 years old. And when the time drew near for him to die, he called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Place your hands between my thighs and make a solemn vow that you will not bury me in Egypt. I want to be buried where my fathers are. Carry me out of Egypt and bury me where they are buried." And Joseph answered, "I will do as you say." Jacob said, "I make a vow that you will." And Joseph made the vow that Jacob gave thanks there on his bed. Now this is a foreshadowing for when the Jews leave Egypt. They take the body of Jacob along for burial in Joseph. So, here we have a wise servant to the king. Not only did he predict to the king that there would be 7 years of surplus and then 7 years of famine, but in the 7 years of famine, he not only fed the people, but he made the king very rich, the Pharaoh. And he did it in a wise way. He took their money at first, and when they ran out of the money, they took their livestock. And when they still could not survive, he allowed them to become slaves, and so that when they did get their farms back up and running, that they would give a fifth of whatever they produced to the king, which is a fair amount. It's not like the king took everything. And so we see wisdom in Joseph. He saves Egypt. He saves his brothers and sisters, his whole family, indeed, his father as well. And he showed mercy and compassion on all he touched. Now you may ask, well, how did it happen that the people of Israel become slaves in Egypt? Well, they were so successful and so productive and so populous from their time in Egypt that the Egyptians became jealous. And they felt threatened by the Israelites for their success. And the way of life had made them so powerful. And so the king made slaves of them. And a different king. When the Pharaoh died, another Pharaoh took his place, and this one was evil. So, I hope you'll stay for the next story. We're going to be on Genesis 48, and it talks a little bit about what I just mentioned. So God bless, take care, and have a wonderful week. If you like this video, please like it. If you had any questions, please ask in the comments. If you would like to see more, subscribe. And if you want to see the whole story, it starts around Genesis 40, and you can come to the Trinity of Christ website. That's trinityofchrist.org, and go to the Bible study page, and we have all the Bible studies listed, so you could go through them in an order that makes sense. God bless, and have a good day.
Jesus said